What is up, you guys? It is Carly here, bringing you a new video. Once again, I hope everyone had a happy new year, and I hope 2025 goes well for everybody. So I wanted to make a video just showcasing all the books I read in 2024. I made it a goal last year to read at least 12 books, 12 months in a year, read a book a month, and I would have been happy. I actually made it to 15. Now, some of them are shorter, but still, I made it to 15. That's pretty good for me. I know, like, a lot of other people read, like, 100 books a year, and so this seems kind of pathetic. But for me, that's pretty good because I did not read too much the past few years whatsoever, and I wanted to get back into it. So I did that, and yeah, I want to try to make it a goal to, break that record every year. So we'll see if we can make it past 15 this year. But anyway, I just wanted to show what I read and give kind of brief thoughts on each book. Some of them might be loose in my memory, obviously, because I started at the beginning of last year. But I'm just gonna go in order of how I read them, and yeah, go from there. So first up, we have Clown in a Cornfield. Yes, this one of the first books I picked up when I wanted to get back into reading, and I just thought the cover looked cool, and it just looked like a slasher movie, but in book form, and that's pretty much what you got with this book. It very much reads like a slasher movie, and I've never really read a book that you're reading a slasher. I've never read a book like that. It's not usually one that I would go to, really, but I quite enjoyed it. It's funny, when I bought it, it was like in the adult section of Barnes and Noble, but it's actually in the teen section, the young adult section now, and it does say Harper. It is like a teen book, but it's a very dark teen book. It's very bloody, gory, a lot of people die in it, stuff like that. So it's not like a lot of young adult books now just don't appeal to me anymore because I am older. Like, right out of high school, I would still read them, but I don't really like a lot of books set like in high school anymore because I'm just not in high school, and that's what this is set in. But I think it handles it well, and it works. You can read it as an adult and enjoy it, and I know several other adults who have watched it or have read it and enjoy it. So yeah, this was a fun one, a fun bloody book. If you like slasher movies, I would recommend it. After that, I think I bought this at the same time that I bought Clown in a Cornfield, because I always do these buy one get one 50% off deals when I go to Barnes & Noble. I can't help it, but that is the Sundown Motel by Simone St. James. Yeah, I really enjoyed this one. Probably one of my favorite books that I've read, and it was the second one I read in the year. But basically, this was about a girl who went missing in the 80s. Let me see if I can see. 1982, to be exact. And the book takes place currently, it is 2017, and this girl named Carly, that's my name. She was the niece of this woman that went missing, and never got to know her. And her mother recently passed away. The Carly character's mother had died of cancer, and never really spoke too much about her. Like, the woman who went missing was her sister, Carly's mom's sister, and she kind of just didn't talk about it too much while Carly was growing up, because, it obviously left a deep impact on her that happened. So Carly decides she wants to figure out what happened herself and be a little investigator. So she ends up going to this Sundown Motel and gets a job, I believe is like the night shift person. And this is where her aunt had worked when she went missing. So she decides to get a job there and see if she could find things out just by working there and kind of seeing through the eyes of her aunt. Her aunt's name was Vivian. And yeah, so it's a big mystery. And there's also some like paranormal stuff going on in the book as well. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really like books set in hotels, motels, stuff like that. I worked in a hotel. It was like my first job right out of high school, and yeah, I just think it's a creepy, eerie setting to set a book or a movie and stuff like that. And this one really worked for me. You know, the ending was okay. I feel like, and that's kind of a running theme with all the books I read this year, I feel like the endings kind of fell apart for me in a lot of these books. This one was okay. Like, it wasn't exactly how I was really hoping for it to end, but it was fine at the same time. Like, I was happy by the end of it. So, yeah. Definitely recommend that one. I want to read more of the author's books. Oh, and I forgot to mention, like, it goes back and forth. It actually goes from Carly's perspective to back in time to her Aunt Vivian's perspective around the time when she went missing. And I believe this author writes a lot of books in that similar type of format. So I'd definitely be curious to check out more of her work. After that, I read Summer of Fear. I did a video on this where I compared it to the movie way back at the beginning of 2024. And yeah, this one was pretty easy to read. It's not too long, and I enjoyed it. It was, it's an older book by Lois Duncan, who also wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer, which I've never read, but yeah, like I said, this one, Wes Craven made a movie adaptation. I believe it's a TV movie with Linda Blair, and it's pretty faithful to the book, so I enjoyed that as well. And yeah, it's a pretty simple little story. Basically, you know, this girl, her parents die in a tragic accident, and then she goes to live with her cousin, aunt, and uncle, and the siblings and stuff like that, but the characters are Rachel and Julia, and they start to kind of butt heads. It just seems like the cousin might be a little more sinister than what you would expect. So yeah, good one, short one, like I said, easy to read, and because it was written so long ago, it was fun to just like go back in time. Like you could definitely feel when this was written, because there's like just some of the wording is very old-fashioned and stuff like that. So really enjoyed it. Pretty good. Pretty easy to get through. Then after that we have Psycho. Yes, I finally read Psycho. Another very short book. This one took me like, I feel like this took me like a week to read. It wasn't, and it was very enthralling. Like, I was very into it the whole time. I did a video on this one as well. Pretty different from the movie. It's different but not different. There's like a lot of similar elements, but just done in kind of different ways, if that makes sense. But yeah, another one, easy to read, set in a motel, obviously, which, as I said, I enjoy that. And yeah, I was glad to finally check this out. I would like to read I bought Psycho 2, the book, at a thrift store years ago, and then when I realized I opened it and some of the pages were actually like ripped out of it, so I ended up getting rid of that. But I would like to read Psycho 2. I don't know if I forget if he has other books as well with the Psycho series, but I know Psycho 2 exists, so I do want to pick that up and read it eventually. Then after that, we have Gross Movie Reviews, the next chapter. Yeah, this is, you know, not really a book, it's just like it's a book, but it's a bunch of reviews by my friend Tim Gross. He does reviews online, and every once in a while he will compile them into a book in case you want to read them in book format instead of reading his reviews on his website. So I think it's a cool idea to do, and I did go through the whole thing, and I had a fun time reading it, actually. It was because he watches a lot of ridiculous stuff. He watches a good mixture of stuff. He watches independent movies, ridiculous films, good films, higher budget films, you know, all that stuff. Most of it's horror, and yeah, I went through, highlighted a bunch of stuff that sounded kind of interesting to me, and then put the book away and never looked at that stuff again. So I gotta, you know, actually go through and see what did I highlight and why. Yeah, but good time. You know, Tim Gross, he always he writes books as well, like anthology style short stories, like in a book called Tales from the Gross Side, and then he sells these at conventions usually. So if you ever see him at a convention, definitely pick this up. I think he sells his stuff online as well, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, just look him up. You could definitely find what he has. But yeah, that was fun to read through. Then after that, we have Legends and Lore of Western Pennsylvania. I think my mom got me this. Either my mom or my aunt or someone in my family gave this to me. I forget if it was for my birthday or just randomly, but yeah, I like reading through these. You know, they're again, short, skinny, the way I like it. But this one was about just random urban legends, and you know, there's a lot of these that are about like supernatural things and stuff like that in Pennsylvania. This one I like that it's specifically Western Pennsylvania and not just all over the place. You can barely even see that, but yeah. So there's some creepy little stories in here that are based off of urban legends. You have like the Green Man. I know that one. I think we actually, well, maybe not me, but I think my friend Maddie filmed some of her movie scenes, like at the bridge where they say you could see that guy. But anyway, yeah, easy read. I don't really remember a whole lot of stories in this, to be honest. It kind of went out of my mind after I read it, but fun to collect those either way. Then after that we have The Toll. I picked this one up. It just looked interesting. I like the cover, and I also like road mysteries as well as just strange small towns and stuff like that. I'm very picky about books, I've come to find. Like, I have a very specific niche of stuff I like, and I just don't want to read anything or else I won't be interested. But this one was about essentially a couple who are traveling to their honeymoon to this swamp, you know, as you do. And I think it's like a town that the dude like knew of or something growing up, and they go back to it. I forget exactly, but they're traveling there and they're on the roads and they're kind of not getting along really. And then they go across this bridge, and I forget exactly what, I think they just like black out, and then the dude wakes up and his new wife is nowhere to be found. So then he has to go into this small town that they were going to anyway, and he sticks around there. He gets into like a bed and breakfast and stuff like that as they try to figure out what happened to his wife Melanie. And yeah, this book, I'm gonna keep saying movie, I enjoyed the small town setting. I think they capture it well. You know, there's like moments with a diner. There's like, you know, you feel like you're kind of it's one of those middle of nowhere towns. Feels like Children of the Corn, where you drive and drive and drive and get nowhere, and then finally a town appears type of deal. So it does a good job of setting the scene. I thought it kind of ended, I did not like the ending at all. Like, there's a point where you're like in the last few chapters and it just gets very, I don't even know, psychological, paranormal, whatever, ridiculous. I did not care for it much at all. And yeah, I think the author even writes like a little thing in here that says like, thank you for the help of somebody who saved this book because it was gonna like fall apart and stuff like that. And I can, you know, I kind of just feel like she didn't really know how to end it, and it went where it went. But the build-up was good. Like, I enjoyed the build-up and I had a good time with it. Just the ending really fell flat for me. Then after that, I finally read The Shining. Yes, I've always said The Shining is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I had never read the book. I was always curious on it because I knew it was a lot different, and more so the adaptation that came out in 1997 followed the book more closely. But yeah, I wanted to read it. I got through this one pretty fast. I think, yeah, I was going to do a video where I compared this to the movie and completely failed to do that. I just didn't do it. That's what happened. But yeah, The Shining, it was really good. This one really kept my interest, and I just wanted to keep going back to it and keep on reading it and stuff like that. And again, you know, hotel setting, I love it. Very different from the movie, but I think I like them both probably equally. I mean, you know, it's like there's really not much, you can't really compare it because it is so different. But yeah, I had a really good time with this, and obviously I love the movie, so it didn't take away from my liking of the movie, and, you know, vice versa. Like, I don't dislike the book because it's so much different than the movie. So yeah, good stuff. Definitely recommend it. Obviously, one of Stephen King's better novels out there. Then after that, I read another short one. See, that's the theme here. That's how I got all these books read. But no, it's Midnight on Beacon Street. Yeah, another thin little boy there. And I think this might be the author's like debut book. And yeah, this one was decent. It took place in 1993 about a babysitter who's babysitting two children. And is it on Halloween or is it, maybe not. Does it say? October 1993. I don't know if it was on Halloween or around Halloween or what, but you know, definitely very inspired by Halloween the movie, because it is about a babysitter babysitting two kids and then some stuff ends up going down. Yeah, this one was pretty easy to get through. You know, it had a lot of nods to horror movies, and well, not nods, it just mentions a lot of horror films in it because our main girl is a fan of horror films, so you know, that's cool. And yeah, for like a first effort, I thought it was decent. You know, it's nothing overly original, I would say. Obviously, it's got like the classic babysitter being stalked thing going on, and has to kind of, she's kind of got anxiety and stuff, and she has to step it up to make sure no harm comes to the children. So yeah, it's nothing overly original, but it was an easy thing to read overall. So yeah, I enjoyed it for what it was. Let's see. Then after that, we have Quentin Tarantino's Cinema Speculation. Yeah, this is basically just a book that Quentin Tarantino wrote, where he goes into his history of film and why he loves movies so much, and then he kind of just goes through different aspects of life where he saw different movies in the cinema or just wherever, and how they kind of impacted him and just what he loves about them. You know, there's stuff in here about Deliverance and Sisters and Taxi Driver, all that. Yeah, this another easy one to get through, another one that you just kind of devour. It was really fun to read. I mean, Quentin Tarantino is a very interesting guy, and he writes his books kind of like he talks in real life, which is funny. Which I mean, good things about, like, it's very enthusiastic. So yeah, quite enjoyed that. I actually picked this up randomly. I was with my dad at Barnes & Noble for his birthday, because he likes to read as well, and my dad likes to read. He doesn't like, he likes autobiographies, biographies, stuff about real events. He doesn't like any of the fake fantasy shiz that I enjoy. So, he, of course, was in the section that was, like, biographies and stuff like that, and this was over there, so I picked it up, like, oh, you should buy this, and then I was looking through, and I was like, actually, I will buy this, because it sounded good, and it was good. It did not disappoint. So that is that one. Then after that, we have Brother. Yes, this one was super good as well. Very dark. Basically about this family living in like the Appalachian Mountains, and they're in the middle of nowhere. And when I say, you know, I say family lightly because it's very much a movie or a book where the family is, well, at least the one kid. I don't know if everyone, I don't think it ever says really, but either way, there's this main kid, Michael, in it who was kidnapped at a young age, and this family pretty much took him in, and they were like, your family doesn't want you anymore, so that is why we have taken you in. And they're like a messed up family. They like kill people. I think, yeah, they eat people. You know, they do all this bad stuff. It's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre-esque, very Mother's Day-esque, stuff like that. Very just backwoods. And it's another one that you read it and it feels like you're watching a movie, like a horror movie. And I thought it was very well written. Well, actually, there were some issues in this book, now that I'm just saying it. It is well written, don't get me wrong, but I've noticed this, there was like 4 instances in this book where stuff didn't make sense, where it would be like Michael was age 6 in one chapter, and then it'll be like 5-year-old Michael in the next chapter, and it's like, you just said he was 6 in the chapter before, and it's not jumping timelines or anything, it's like current, and it's like the author is giving this kid different ages, and I think it's just like a mistake in the writing. I also kind of gave myself away the ending, because I was Googling this book for, I forget what the reason even was, but I ended up reading a review where it didn't reveal the ending, but it compared it to an ending of a movie that I have seen, and therefore it led to me like knowing what was going to happen, so that kind of sucked. But yeah, overall though, it was a good ride. It kept you invested. It's very depressing, dark, like none of it's happy, I'll tell you that. So if you're looking for something that's like happy, goofy, or anything like that, this is not the book for you. But otherwise, I would recommend it. I would. Then after that, we have a Bad Man. Yeah, this one caught my attention just based off the cover. It's, you know, a cart in the middle of a vacant lot, and there's some blood behind it. And this one was about a little boy who goes missing at age 3. He is with his older half-brother, who I believe was 15 at the time of his disappearance, Ben. And yeah, they go into a grocery store, and Ben like turns his head for a minute, and his brother, the baby brother, disappears without a trace, and they never find him. And then 5 years go by, and Ben ends up getting a job on the night crew at this grocery store, and he's like obsessed with trying to find his brother still, like all these years later. Like he, you know, kind of ruined his life essentially. He didn't graduate on time. He doesn't really have any ambition in life. His stepmother kind of blames him for what happened. So he's kind of made it his mission to find out what happened. Kind of a similar storyline to the Sundown Motel in a way, where, you know, you have these characters who had a relative go missing, and then they end up getting a job at the scene of crime, basically, and it's like a night shift thing, but very different, in just the same basic skeleton, but the stories are quite different. This is another one that I was super into it the whole time. I really wanted to know what happened, and then the ending kind of disappointed me. Not as bad as The Toll, but just, I don't know, the ending just kind of felt a little rushed and not at all what I was hoping would happen or expecting to happen or anything like that. So yeah, but besides that, I thought it was really, really good, really well done. Does a great job of just capturing this atmospheric scenery, and yeah, pretty good other than the end. I don't know, maybe that's just me. Maybe I just have issues. Well, I know I do, but anyway. Then after that, we have Clown in a Cornfield Part 2. Dave Parker actually sent this to me for my birthday. And yeah, obviously earlier on, I read the first one at the beginning of the year, and I got to this one closer to the end. I think I read this in October, actually, which it does take place in October, where the first one does not. You would think, like, with a title and cover like this that they would, but the first one takes place, I think, like in the on Founders Day. I don't know if that's a real day or not. Whenever that is, that's when that one took place. But this one is Halloween time, so it worked out good. And yeah, I don't know what it was. I just couldn't get into this one as much. I feel like there's just a lot going on in it. Because you have like the main character she's now in college, and she moves to Philadelphia, which I think is where she was from originally, and so she goes back there to go to school, and then, you know, some stuff goes down, and then she winds up, you know, she still has her friends from the first book, and then they end up going back to the state that all this stuff happened, and there's a lot of friendos running around. That's the name of the clown. And I don't know, I felt like there was just a lot going on, and I kept, like, every time I opened it again, I was like, okay, what's going on? And it's one of those ones where every chapter is focusing on different people, and I think that's another thing I didn't like. It got very confusing for me, because if you don't keep on reading, like, consistently, you're gonna go back and get confused on what character's doing what in what moment. So that might just be me though. I know there's a part 3. I kind of am not in a hurry to read it because I didn't love this one, but I might pick it up just to, you know, complete the series. I think there's only 3. If there's a 4th one, I don't even know. But anyway, that's that. Then after that, we have Killer Cults. Yeah, this was another true to life book that I picked up, and just thought I would give it a shot. It's what the title says, Killer Cults. It talks about a bunch of different cults, not just like the typical ones. I mean, there is like the Charles Manson one, there is the Jonestown massacre in here, there's what else? There's a variety of cults up in here. Let me see if it says how many are there. Let me see. Stand by, people. Stand by. I think there's 19 different stories in here about different cults over time. There's like the Columbine cult stuff that happened. Yeah, it was pretty interesting, you know. I'm not the biggest fan of like true crime and stuff, but for whatever reason, I felt like reading about cults, and some of them are quite disturbing and sickening, so, you know, it's definitely not a feel-good book. It's just crazy that this many cults have existed over time, and this is just, I'm sure there's way more than what's listed in this book, and that is terrifying, and people are crazy, but, yeah. It was good, you know. Some some of them were more interesting than others, some of them were more disturbing than others. It's one where, you know, you're reading about all different types of things. I feel like if I'm gonna read like a book about true crime next time, I would rather go with one that's just focused on one topic and not a variety, but I figured since I don't read too much of that too often, it would be good to start with one that kind of is told in telling different stories throughout it, but whatever. It was good. And then lastly, but not least, guys, we have Goblin. Yeah, Goblin. This was the last book I finished, and I read through this one pretty quickly as well. It is essentially a bunch of novellas, 6 novellas with a wraparound story, so it's told very anthology style. Again, this one reads very much like a horror movie would, you know, I could picture this becoming a movie type of thing. Like, I could really picture all the stuff in my head, so I appreciated that. Some stories were better than others. There's actually 2 in here that involve like animal killing, cruelty, or just animal killings that kind of upset me a little bit, and I'm not usually like that, but I was like, I didn't really want to read that, but at the same time it kept me enthralled, kept me invested, and I was like eager to keep reading the story. So I thought overall this was solid, and again, it's cool because it's all like, Goblin is the name of the town, this crazy town, like small town that stuff is happening in, yeah, it's just stories about different people in that neighborhood encountering crazy stuff. Like, there's like a magician in here, there's a hunter who does like game hunting, throwing a party. There's one where this kid has like this friend who is doing messed up stuff, and yeah, it was solid. All the stories were pretty unique from each other. But yeah, the animal stuff kind of like just upset me a bit. Like, I was just like sad, like, oh, I don't like that. But it's a book, it's not real. So there's that. But all right, let me drop those all over the floor. I knew that was gonna happen. But anyway, guys, that is, I'll pick those up in a minute. All right, that is everything I read in 2024. Yeah, not too shabby for me. Not too shabby of books either. I pretty much liked all the books that I read, I will say. You know, none of them were dreadful or hard for me to get through, because that's the biggest thing for me. If I'm reading a book and I don't like it, and I know right off the bat I don't like it, I end up taking forever to get through it, and then before you know it, the whole year's gone and I have not read any of the books. So I'm trying to get away from that. You know, if I don't like a book, I would rather just try a different one and maybe go back to that one later, or read multiple at a time and do it that way, rather than just giving up on my dreams of being a reader altogether. So yeah, but that was all the books. I will hopefully read more this year. And yeah, if you guys are readers, horror books in particular, let me know any books that you enjoy. Of course, I would like to read more Stephen King books and things like that. And some of these other authors here, I would like to check out more of their work. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me for this video, and I will see you in the next one.